Hi class, Dr. Sands here. Wanted to take a minute to go over project planning and analysis part 2, which is your work breakdown structure, your schedule, and your budget. But before we dive into what is due for part 2, why don't we take a look over at part 1, and because that's where obviously it started. And what we need to be cognizant of part 1 is the overview here of what the delivery high level delivery is, and especially here where it says it is currently January 10th, so you have the opportunity approximately 8 months to plan and prepare for the 2 events that are being put on. All right, so with that, we also have our documents, the charter that you'd created before, previous lessons learned, your cost sheet, and then project requirements. So now as we take a look at part 2, the instructions are develop a work breakdown structure using the template, using the work, and this should just be WS, using the work breakdown structure that you just developed, create a project schedule. Assign resources to the task, assign tasks predecessors. Then it says analyze and determine the project's critical path. Highlight the task on the critical path in yellow. Then using the WS, develop the project budget. Include a total line at the bottom of your sheet to show the total budget. Submit your WS worksheet. So those that is the steps that you'll be taking for what you'll be submitting. So what you'll be submitting is 2 documents. One is the Excel WBS and critical path and budget. That's all going to be in the WS template. Okay. Then your second document is an APA formatted document that is for this right here. That didn't go so well. How about right here? That's what you're going to have your APA format on, is the analysis of the project's critical path. And I will talk more about that as we continue. All right, so where to start? You know, that's always when you're have a new assignment or project, is where to start. Well, the good news is you've already done a good amount of the work in week in the part 1. So let's start with part 1. I'm going to bring those documents up here. Okay, so in week 1 we have the project charter, and then the Jacoby Art Museum cost sheet, and items and description and cost per unit. So and the service sheet, how much it cost for the service. Okay, so we're going to use that. On your project charter, you would have had developed key milestones / deliverables. Key milestones are the high level on your WBS. So and then how did we get here? Well, if we take a look at the requirements document, they want to throw a private event, which is to take place on the 2nd Friday in September. They want to have a public event that'll take place on the 2nd Saturday in September. So one's on Friday and one's on Saturday, and these other requirements here. So your project is to ensure that these 2 events go off on time, and so that's what you would be working towards. And then of course the other requirements that support these 2 events. Okay, all right, so that's where you see here from the requirements document and case study, what we read in part 1, private event. Well, I put in event pre-planning because there would be pre-planning. Remember, it said in part 1 that it was, I think, January, so you had plenty, like 8 months. So there's going to be some pre-planning activity that you would have. Then here's your private event, here's your public event, and here's your other requirements. There we go. All right, so now we are armed with all this information. Why don't we take a look at the Excel file that you would have downloaded for your WBS. Also, with your project charter, you'll have put in the background information, high-level scope, key milestones, and then your risks and your stakeholders, previous lessons learned, etc. Now that's going to be important to incorporate when you do your write-up on the when you do your write-up. Get back here to the website. Get to me documents. Here we go. Okay, sorry about that. There we go. We get back to here. So when you do your analysis on the project's critical path, you'll use all that information because there's risks, there's timing, planning. So that's your analysis on the critical path. Again, APA research, 2 documents. Your analysis of the project's critical path will have an APA formatted title page. You'll have an introduction. You'll have the body of your analysis. You'll have a conclusion, and it'll also have your references. With your references, make sure you use them at least one time within the content, within the body of your paper. Okay, so let's jump over to the WS template. Now, I went ahead and download that. The WS template here is in Excel. I've created many WS project plan is what it is. And Microsoft Project, other companies have more user-friendly automated software to help create a WS breakdown, project plan, and all that. But for this project, we're going to do it in Excel, and that's fine too. I've also done it in Excel. Just wanted to let you know there's other software out there as well. Okay. So this is when you download it from your assignment page. This ultimately is what you get. I think it might have been scrunched up a little bit. I expanded it. There's a statement here that's not necessarily true. It says phases do not have durations. They are placeholders for a group of tasks. Well, the phase, actually, you do have your overall time it takes to do phase 1 from start to finish, phase 2, phase 3, etc. But it's kind of a bottom-up kind of thing. In one of 2 ways. So when you're doing a phase duration, you can set a hard date to say this is our due date, like our event in this example. We have to hit the Friday, second Friday, and then that second Saturday in September. So that's going to be a hard stop, and then we got to back everything in to fit that. Other times, when you are forecasting what a project duration would be, it's the other way around, where you have your phase, like your phase 1, then you bake in everything that you have to do and put timing to it, and it actually calculates your overall phase timing. So the phases do have times and durations and things of that nature. So what I did is I took this and I put a little more into it, and I'm going to attach it to along here in the announcement when I post this. I have Jacoby number 2 down here. So what I did is, because this is pretty plain, and you could use it, it's fine. What I like to do, sorry, what I like to do is break up the phases, and I like to use additional colors just to help, because it gets real busy real fast when you're putting in a bunch of information and owners and people and money. So I like to break it up with colors and things of that nature, just to help help keep track and stuff. And okay, great. So with you're going to input your data here. We'll go through in a minute, and then like if you're using Microsoft Project or software from another company, when you put in the start date and finish date or the days, then the software would actually automatically draw these Gantt charts for you. But since we're doing it manually, and now you could, if you wanted to, and by all means do if you want, you can actually put in formulas to, Excel formulas to draw these lines for you. And that's okay too. The important thing is right here is the second Friday in September, and then that second Saturday, right, the day after. Now, in the project description, you actually have 8 months of planning. I created this manually for you to use if you want, so you don't have to put in 8 months of planning. So, but I did put in a little leeway, so you can see what that looks like, right? Okay, so what does all this mean? All right, well, if we think about it, when we were looking at the project charter, there we go. I have 3 monitors, and sometimes I lose my documents. Okay, so the project charter, when you put in your key milestones, which were really these 4, right? Your key milestones are the same as what the doc is, what this document is calling a phase, the phase, the task, and the phase. The phase is also the critical milestones in which you are to achieve. So what I did is, just for simplicity, following the event planning, the key milestones, and then you have your key phases here. Event pre-planning, private event, public event, and other requirements. So what you'll do, all right, is on the event pre-planning, let's take a look at this. Let me actually go down to I'm going to jump to the private event, because the event pre-planning, you're going to have to look through the documents and the introduction on the portal, and then you're going to have to put in some pre-planning activities to get to that. And I just put in like your WBS1, WBS2, I think, yeah, there you go, WBS1, and then the first major task under that is going to be 1.1, and then you're going to have subtasks. The second major task under 1 is 1.2, and then subtask. And then the next phase are critical milestone, etc., all the way down. Okay. All right. Back. So now, when we take a look at, I want to take a look at the project requirements. So with the project requirements, okay, project requirements, the private event is seated dinner event on the second Friday in September, so which we know we already have that marked here with a lot of times, like if you're using a software, even when you use formulas in Excel, you can put in like a star or like a triangle. I usually use a star to mark the end of phase timing, but I just use black, put it manually. All right, so the private event is this is ultimately what you're going to want to achieve, and if we think about it, really this should look something like like that, right? Because really, these are all the particulars that are going to go into those two major things there. All right. Okay. So under and so like each one of these these sub bullets under the objective or project target is going to have each one of these is going to be a task. Okay, so for example, 300 people. All right, and I'm just going to do like 2 of these. So for the private event, 300 people. And then when you put it in there, just change it to black, the font to black. I have it grayed out like that. Okay. And there we go. 300 people. All right. And then go ahead and justify it. There we go. So one of the first major tasks that is on our list is 300 people. Okay, well, how do you get those 300 people? Now that is a maximum, right? So you will need to have a guest list. You will need to send out invitations. So, you know, a subtask would be create guest list, create invitations. Send out a mail. Mail, you know, and so like I said, you know, I'm going to put send out. I say send invitations. So, you know, traditionally sending an invitation is plop in the mail. Well, today we're maybe not do mail for everybody. Maybe today we're going to do a combination of mail. We could use, you know, online planning software like Eventbrite, I think, and others, and maybe email, or maybe we're going to post it on Facebook, or maybe we're going to send a an Instagram blast, something like that. So even when we say send invitation, and I don't want you to, I'm not expecting you to go to this level, but even when we say send invitation, send invitations, that would have, you know, potentially, you know, maybe 3 other subtasks below that. It depends. It's a fine balance of not, you know, trying to boil the ocean and get to such a granular level that you're creating just a beast of a document to manage. So there is a fine line of creating a project plan, work breakdown structure that's detailed enough to ensure, because it's a checklist, right? It's like you're going grocery shopping. I need to get eggs and bananas and milk and etc. And I know when I go to Albertsons, I'm going to go a certain way so I can do it efficiently, right? Or whatever store you go to. Same thing here, just bigger. So we don't have to go to the nth degree of granularity, but just so you know, you can even break down, send invitations out yet again. So it's just want to share that. All right, then it says to be held at the guest room in the museum. All right. Well, let's just say here. Guest room museum. And there we go. All right. So what are we going to have to do to secure the guest room in the museum? I'm sure we have to book it. Do we have to put up any banners? any private party signage, things like that. And kind of take a step back. I mean, this is a school assignment, but just think like when you go to an event and it's held someplace, what's all involved. Again, we don't want to go to the nth degree because this is a school assignment, but you do want to, put in a couple of subtasks or a subtask below that. Okay. So what I did, like I said, I put these lines in there, and the only things relevant for accuracy here is, like I said, that's an example. Is second Friday, second Saturday. This is all made up. This is all made up, and the other requirements I just put in there. Now, if you think about it, the other requirements you would actually want to have ready. I'm going to move that to there because the other requirements, whatever it is, you need to have at least done by the second Friday of our first party. So I'm going to let you guys get creative with that, and depending on how you put your task and subtask in, how much lead time you think it's gonna. I mean, how long will it take to create a guest list for 300 people, end to end, right? Create the list, create the invitations, and then send it. So those 3 subtasks here would roll up to the main task. So if each one of these tasks here, let's just say this is the project manager, the predecessor, there's no predecessor because it is there is no predecessor for here, so we just leave it blank. Resources needed. Well, what resources will you need to create a list? Well, if you're going to need your project manager, then that's a resource. We know that. They're not free. So task owner, it's going to be, may say, so your resource is going to be your PM. Maybe it's going to be, let's just say paper. Create the guest list. Let's say PM. And I think there's actually one administrator. Let me go look at our resources here. There we go. So actually, maybe for create the list, that's the office. Let's say the office manager. So that's not the PM. That's going to be the office manager. And we'll keep it at that for this illustration. Office manager. With no predecessor. Resource needed is the office manager, and we know the office manager makes $24 an hour. And so how long do we think it's going to take to create this list? Maybe, let's just say 3 hours, right? So put in a little handy dandy formula, equals 3 times 24. Boom, there you go, $72. So what I did is I remember this is going to be your budget too, right? So with this one, I pre-populated these cells here so they will, whatever you put underneath it, will roll up into that. Now, if you add more lines here, because if you want to put in more tasks and subtasks, which you will, then you're going to have to just make sure all the formulas stay together, okay? If you need help with that, then you can let me know. Okay, and now let's say let's create the invitations, and let's just say we're going to do paper. Okay, just old school paper invitations. Invitation cards. So they're gonna be super cool, stationary type of thing. So let's see here. Look at what we have here. Okay, well, we don't have invitations on our list. Which we could we could, for this example here, say we're going to have the office assistant do it. Office assistant, it's $18 an hour. All right, so we're going to have the office assistant. Now, a predecessor, what that means is it's a task or a subtask, usually a subtask, or either one, a task or subtask that needs to be completed before I can do this one, okay? So the predecessor to create invitations is going to be, well, I need a guest list, okay? So the predecessor for this one is going to be 2.1.1. That resources needed, we're going to say the office manager and invitations. Okay. So we know the office manager, the office assistant. Got ahead of myself there. Office assistant. There we go. Okay, capitalize that. So say consistent. Office assistant and invitation. So we know the office assistant is $18 an hour. So we're going to say, and now let's just say that's going to take. Let's just say it's going to take a whole day. Because they got to be, the invitation's got to be produced, envelopes, make sure they're right, etc. So let's just say a day. So what we're going to do is going to say, and then the cost for the invitations equals sum, and we're going to say it's going to be office assistant is 18 an hour times 8, and then we're going to say let's add $100 for the invitations. So that's how much it costs to print them. So I'm going to say plus 100. And there we go. So to create the invitations was $244, which is going to be material and time. So when we go over here and look at when we look at days, so we knew this is going to take, the formula was, well, let's make it, you know what, let's go 4. Let's just make it easy on ourselves. So 4 hours is to say half a day. And so that's going to be 0.5 days. Okay? And then we're saying here, this is still 8 hours. So it's going to be 1. Okay? And then the task status is, as it started, and process. So we're going to say this is, at this point, not started. Oops. I got a little formatting error there. I'll fix that if I send it. But the status is, started, not started, completed, etc. And then send invitations. We think we're going to have our office assistant do that as well. Now, if you want to pick the project manager, that's up to you. However you created your project charter and how you see the project. So I say, like what I'm showing you right here, I'm not telling you to do that for your WBS. I'm just merely using the resources that you have for this assignment, for this project, and just giving you a couple examples on what it could look like. Okay, so I'm not dictating to do exactly what I'm doing. I'm just walking you through what that's going to look like with just an example, with just one task and some subtasks. And then send the invitation. We're going to say, well, we'll just give it to the project manager. They need to be busier. And so, okay, what is the predecessor? Well, we got to create them first, right? So we got to do 2.1.2. So that's got to be done before we can send them. Who's going to do it is the project manager, and what do we need? Postage. P-O-S-T-A-G. So we'll do a similar example. We're going to say we'll use half. When you do your timing, maybe just keep it in one day. Keep it in like a half day, full day increments, just because it's easier that way for this project. So we'll say sum, and we're going to say it's going to be half a day. So it's going to be 4. times, and the project manager is how much is PM? $30 an hour times 30. And how much you think stamps or postage is going to be for 300? Gosh, what are they, like 40 cents? So 350. Let's just say $110. Close enough. There's our cost. And we know that is going to be 0.5. All right. So as you can see, as we're putting in, and that's the really neat thing about putting together a WBS and a project plan, you build in the costs and the resources, it all flows together. I mean, and then when you're done, you have this document that is going to take you to see your project through, and this waterfall type of project. So as you can see right here, when we talk about our project costs or our budget, right? Just for the 300 people, it's going to cost us $570 just for inviting people. Okay. Now, the way I did this, so you know, is like for the private event, what I did is I just used a formula to say, okay, calculate everything. See, I put in right here. So it's going to calculate everything below or everything within that phase, phase. So if you, and you will need to add more lines in here. Just make sure that you keep that moving with it. And this one I put where it calculates the main there. All right. So when you complete all of this, ensure that all your costs tie together, it sums up down at the bottom. What you've now created when you're done, your WBS, your project plan, your schedule, and your budget, all right here, good to go. Now, on the second page right here is a definition. So when you're using the work breakdown structure, task list, which is these main categories up here, I put a little definition here on what they are. Okay. Now, your assignment says you need to figure out what is your critical path, and you will, and then you need to do an analysis on that. And your analysis is, it's critical. And it's critical path because it's critical to your project, especially when you have a hard date of that second Friday at 9 o'clock, whatever it was. So it's the key pieces of your project that you have to hit, which is critical to have it completed. And with this, so what does that mean? So the critical path, or paths, because you will have paths too, is the longest path in time from start to finish. It indicates the minimum time necessary to complete the entire project. So again, we have a project date to hit, and so what are going to be the critical items in that path that we have to hit? So you'll have to analyze that, and like I said, you will use your project charter because remember, you put in risks and things like that, right? And your stakeholders, and plus the lessons learned. So potentially, in your lessons learned, you said, well, this happened before, and we didn't, there's some key things in that path that didn't get delivered on time and miss the event. So you use all your awesome information that you have for this assignment this far. Let me go back to, okay, there we go. So I just walked you through, again, develop your work breakdown schedule, your project schedule, resources to task predecessors. Oops. And then and develop your budget. So all this except your analysis will be completed within, like I showed you, that Excel book that I showed you. Now, again, the analysis of your critical path is your second document, and that is a Word document completely formatted with APA using my expanded title sheet, which I have an example in the APA announcement when we start class. Again, APA title sheet with the expanded title sheet that I request. Your paper title, introduction. Remember, you don't write introduction. Your paper title is where you start. Your introduction paragraph. Then your body of your paper is the analysis. And make sure you use level 1 headers to break out what you're talking about. Just don't do one long written document. All right. So level 1 headers are to define the main thoughts, the main points as you write about them. Okay. And then your conclusion. And then type conclusion, and that's paragraph, references, and you'll be good to go. So that's it. I hope this is helpful. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out, either email, text. You can send a message here in the class, and I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you. Have a blessed day.